everything's working correctly. Be sure to let me know if you can see me and if you can hear me. I've got my chat up. I've got the radar up. I'm getting some thumbs up from people, so I guess I'm live on the airwaves here. Well, sound should be fixed now. My mic was muted. I had it muted on purpose. Okay, cool. I'm going to let this catch up real quick before I start talking. I hear you now. Cool. Sounds good. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Zachary Hall, otherwise known as the Arkansas Storm Tracker. You're probably getting tired of seeing me on your computer or phone screen because it's been ridiculous this week when it comes to severe weather in the state of Arkansas. We have, unfortunately, what I would say we are headed in the wrong direction for severe weather today. And I think we are trending toward a prolific severe weather day, perhaps a tornado outbreak across a large chunk of Arkansas. And I'm going to go over everything that I have with you here. This will probably be my last live briefing before severe weather really gets kicked off later this afternoon. So if you have questions, this video will be up on my Facebook. It'll be on my YouTube, my Twitter. If you don't catch it live, just watch it through and it should answer questions that you have. If you're watching live, great. First of all, I want to start off with the radar. It's 10:17 a.m., April 4th, of course. We have some activity in northwest Arkansas that's not necessarily severe, and a large part of northwest Arkansas and western Arkansas has dealt with some storms this morning with no tornado risk. It's just hail and noisy storms. And I think this part of the state, so northwest Arkansas in general, this section of our state, should largely miss the severe weather risk today outside of some hail potential later this afternoon. However, a large part of the state will not. The severe weather risk is quite high across most of Arkansas this afternoon. Southeast Arkansas and northwest Arkansas are really the only exceptions. I know a lot of you are going to ask, Zach, what about fill in the blank? And you can put any town, county, whatever, for me. Like what severe weather for me? This map will help explain that for you. Excuse me if I sound a little odd or drained. I have been sick this morning, and not a good morning to be sick, but I apologize. If you live in Texarkana, Arkadelphia, Hot Springs, Mena, Russellville, Little Rock, Conway, Batesville, Clarksville, Clinton, Mountain Home, Jonesboro, Paragould, Corning, if you live in Fort Smith, if you live in Harrison, if you live in Pine Bluff, that's just, I'm naming off whatever towns I can think of and see. You have a severe weather risk today, this afternoon, and this evening specifically. This is the significant tornado parameters for this afternoon, and you'll see, as of right now, there's not a whole lot going on across most of the state, and that's because our warm front is still across southern Arkansas and in northern Louisiana. The unstable air hasn't made it across a large part of the state, and it won't until later today. The significant tornado parameters reflect this, and you can see it here. This is 1 p.m. You can see that tornado parameter space is lifting north. The reds, the purples, those values 4, 5, 6, and 7s, those are higher values for tornadoes today. And this is going to continue lifting north with time. This is 2 p.m., 3 p.m. This is where the tornado threat is going to really start kicking in, I think, from around 2 p.m. through around 8 or 9 p.m. And you can see it's very high in central Arkansas and southwest Arkansas, that I-30-67 corridor. Parts of I-40 over towards, we'll just say, I know that Fort Smith doesn't look like it there, but, the Fort Smith I-40 corridor all the way to Little Rock might be the most northward extent. So if you live in northern, north central, and northwest Arkansas, you could miss the best parameter space on this. And these tornado parameters really start maxing this evening. This is for 5 p.m. tonight. And you can see those values max there just north of Little Rock, northeast of Little Rock, up to Jonesboro, Corning, Batesville, Searcy. That is very concerning. This look right here is very concerning to me because this tells me that the conditions, the unstable air, the low-level jet, I can show you the low-level jet as well. You guys know I'm a huge fan of the low-level jet when it comes to forecasting tornadoes. And you'll see here, 6 p.m., this low-level jet core is centered over Arkansas. Tornadoes need fuel and they need the correct winds. They need the correct wind profiles. And this just screams tornadoes to me. The alarm bells are going off in my head for Arkansas today. There's always bust potential. Things can always bust. It happens. but we're running out of ways for this to bust, in my opinion. This is what storms will look like today. And this honestly might be our only savior. Here, I'll show you here in a moment. This right here, this is 2 p.m. So this is what the radar might look like this afternoon. And you can see the HRRR is depicting supercells or isolated storms across southwest Arkansas, western Arkansas, northeast Texas, and then perhaps some stronger storms in northwest Arkansas with a hail risk. And this continues to 3. That's a look, folks. 3 p.m. today, school pickup time in western Arkansas. We could have multiple supercells or multiple strong storms with tornado warnings across western Arkansas. So I need you to plan ahead on that now. If you're in Little Rock, if you're in northern Arkansas, south central Arkansas, might not be a whole lot going on at the 2 to 3 to 4 p.m. hour, but that's going to change. And storms really start getting their act together that 4, 5, 6 p.m. hour. This storm mode looks a little messy. I'm curious to see if this has any impact on our tornado threat today. Storm mode on Wednesday got a little messy, and those storms just powered right through and kept producing tornadoes. But as we go through the 7, the 8 p.m. hour, this looks more like a line, but we could still have broken individual segments of storms, embedded supercells, embedded circulations that could produce strong tornadoes. I do wonder, and this is just the forecasting, curiosity in me, if this area, which it would make sense given that the severe weather risk is highest today in this part of the state, if the 2 to 6 p.m. hour or so is the height of the severe weather risk. Not saying that the risk up here in northeast Arkansas isn't high. We just looked at the tornado parameters and they're sky high. But the storm mode, unstable air, and the low-level jet cooperation might be highest in this time frame. Just something to watch. If you live in Arkansas, I'm really getting into the weeds here, the forecast. I would encourage you, no matter where you live, just to keep an eye on the weather today. It's one of those days where we just have to keep an eye on the weather. And this goes, guys, all the way through in the evening hours. Unfortunately, this shows around 1 a.m. We could still have storms ongoing across central, southwest Arkansas. I think the severe weather risk by late tonight, so when we're trying to go to sleep, it might be noisy outside. The high severe weather risk will likely have come down by that time. I will say, though, flooding is a major concern tonight. We have the opportunity, fortunately, for significant flooding risk across a large part of the state. And I'll show you we have a high risk for significant flooding. And I'll pull that up on my profile. One second, I'm sorry. Here is that view. I know it might be a little bit blurry, but the pink shading here, that's a high risk for flooding. We are not under a high risk per the National Weather Service SPC Center for Tornadoes. We're under a level 4 or 5, not a 5 of 5, but we are under the max risk level for excessive rainfall. And that goes across a large part of the state. So outside of the tornadoes, which get a lot of attention, rightfully so, large hail, strong winds, we could have life-threatening flash flooding late tonight, especially as storms continue to persist over the same areas over and over and over. So travel could be very hazardous tonight, especially after dark. Flooding kills so many people every single year. I hate it. I hate flooding. So keep an eye on that as we go through the night hours as well. That's just one more thing you have to keep a watchful eye out for. So if you take anything away from all the information that I just provided you, severe weather in Arkansas today, very likely. I'll go ahead and just pull up the SBC graphic to keep with me here. And I'll finish off. Here is the tornado risk from the National Weather Service. This is the SBC official forecast. So if you live in the red or the yellow shadings, the tornado risk for you today is pretty high. I mean, you can see on the map. It's got it labeled. Most of you watching, obviously some of you might live in northwest Arkansas where there's not really a tornado risk. It's very low, or southeast Arkansas, but there's a huge chunk of our state that's encompassed in this, and a tornado outbreak is possible. The numbers at the bottom right, those 10 to 14%, 15 to 29%, guys, this isn't like rain chances. Those are significant values, especially the red shading. This is as close to a high risk as we can get without actually making it to the high risk like we had on Wednesday. So, and there are some subtle differences from today compared to Wednesday, but the tornado risk today is still fairly high. If you hear me talking about tornado outbreak, which I don't like to say a whole lot because it really scares people, you know that the tornado risk is legitimate. So as far as the timeline goes, we kind of discussed that a few moments ago. I'm getting questions about that. Everyone wants to know when it's going to impact them. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee you a specific time outside of, I think the severe weather risk today is highest from 2 p.m. through around 9 to 10 p.m. So once we get to lunch in that 1 to 2 p.m. hour, that's when you really need to start paying attention to the weather. No matter where you live, we could have multiple rounds of storms that impact you over that timing window from 2 p.m. to 10. It's not just going to be, for most of you at least, it's not just going to be one single storm goes through and that's it. We could have multiple rounds of storms. In the moderate risk area, the red shaded area, we could have multiple supercells, multiple tornado warnings. Some of you, like Wednesday, could go through 3 or 4 storms today, or maybe 2 or 3 storms today where they have tornado warnings on them. So you've got to go to the shelter, stay in the shelter. Wednesday was exhausting. Today could be somewhat similar in that regard. It just looks like we have the makings of a rough day. I just texted a friend of mine, James Bryant, is a meteorologist in Little Rock, and Frankie Shepard, a good friend of mine who's a storm chaser. We'll be working with him today, and Zach Hardcastle. I sent him a photo of the radar image of right now. And the radar image right now is, to me, classic for a severe weather outbreak in Arkansas involving a rapidly rising warm front into the state. For us to skip out on the severe weather risk today, we need to see widespread heavy rain across the state. And there's nothing. Folks, these little popcorn showers, popcorn fart showers, that's not going to do a daggum thing to the atmosphere today. We would need widespread training convection to wash things out, to shove the warm front south. That warm front is going to rapidly rise north with time. Think of it like this. The warm front, this is not going to be exact, so please forgive me. The northern edge of the warm front might be like this. I don't know if that's going to be exact, but it could be something like that, where if you live north of the front, your tornado risk is much lower. If you live along and south of that front, your tornado risk is very high today. And that front is lifting now out of northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, north. So it might not feel like tornado weather where you live right now. By this afternoon, it will. It will feel like tornado weather outside. So I see all the questions here on the left. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. Like I said earlier, guys, I'm not feeling well. I've been sick this morning, so I'm going to hop off, go get hydrated, get ready, because I have a feeling that once I go live this afternoon, I will probably be live for quite a while today. I will let you know that obviously, for those of you who follow the page know, but if you're a new follower, I do live broadcast during severe weather, just like you're watching now. I'll have the radar up. We'll discuss Google Maps and roadways impacted, cities, communities, and I'll be here as long as I can, as humanly possible. Obviously, I live in western Arkansas. I don't live too far from Fort Smith, which is in a high risk for severe weather today. So obviously, if I have to take shelter here at my house or get in the storm tracker and get out of here, I will. And of course, I could lose power at times too, which is very unfortunate. But I'll do my best to be live and on air as much as possible this afternoon so everyone's informed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm exhausted and so ready for this week to be over. We do have a severe weather risk tomorrow, Saturday, that could involve... You know what? Let's go over that real quick before I get off, because I'm not going to be able to talk about it again before tomorrow, and I don't want anyone to be confused about that. I do expect tornado watches to be issued this afternoon for most counties. Yes, this live will be published on my page when it's done. Tomorrow, Saturday. This is not to be confused with today, Friday. Saturday, April 5th, another risk for significant tornadoes tomorrow. We're so close to being done. We've got one more day after today. Mainly southeast Arkansas. El Dorado, Lake Village, Monticello, Crossett, Chico Desha, Ashley, Union counties, kind of that part of the state. The risk does go up to Little Rock and to Jonesboro, West Memphis, but I think the risk is lower. I truly don't think that Saturday will be like today or Wednesday. Famous last words, of course. But there is a risk for severe weather, especially tomorrow afternoon. I have a funeral to go to tomorrow in the mid-morning hours, so my updates might be a little scattered, but I will have as much published in the morning and in the midday as I can, and I will be live tomorrow afternoon with any severe thunderstorm, with any tornado warnings that we might have for Saturday. So I think that's good. I think we're good on that. Guys, if you have questions, you can watch this live again, and hopefully it answers you, and I have several updates on my Facebook and on my Twitter that hopefully can help you prepare you for the day as well. My name is Zachary Hall, otherwise known as the Arkansas Storm Tracker, And unfortunately, I'm sure I'll see you guys here in a little while. So